Hello and welcome back to Reading with Mo. I'm very excited to share with you guys some new books that are going to be coming out in the next 3 months for basically the summer months of 2024. I have about 32 books, if I'm remembering correctly, that are coming out over the next 3 months that I've heard about so far that are on my radar and that I wanted to share with you guys. That way, if you like to pre-order books or kind of start thinking ahead to the new summer releases that you're going to want to pick up this year, will be a good jumping off point for you with a lot of books that I'm interested in. As always, I will try to read as many of these as I can, but I know I'm not going to end up reading all of these. So if you guys do end up reading any of these, let me know your thoughts on them. We'll go ahead and start off with the biggest month of July, and there's 13 books coming out that I wanted to share with you guys in the month of July. Most of these books are from authors I've never heard from, so hopefully if I enjoy the writing, I'll have books of theirs I can pick up. The first we have is Masquerade, and this is by O.O. Sangoyomi. This is a science fiction book. It's set in the 15th century West Africa, and it's reimagining, I guess, of 15th century West Africa, following the story of one woman's fight for freedom and how much that costs and her self-discovery and the lengths she'll go to secure her future. The story that sets off this whole book is we're following our main character, Ododo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I will need the audiobook to be correct about this. But she's in her hometown of Timbuktu that's been conquered by the warrior king of Yoruba land. And living conditions for the women in her blacksmith guild, who were already shunned as social pariahs, grow even worse, and then she ends up being abducted. Next, we have a horror debut novel, and that is Midnight Rooms by Danye Coles. This is described as a gothic book. It takes place in a gothic mansion infused with the heightened paranoia and creeping horror of novels like Catherine House and Crimson Peak. It's described as a spine-chilling debut historical thriller. This one takes place in England in 1840. We're following our main character, Arabella, who ends up being promised in marriage. She's basically this strange person that's visiting her uncle's house. She's the orphan daughter of a white man and a black woman, an outsider with no fortunes and connections, and she never expected to marry, but her uncle has a lot of debts, so she ends up marrying this guy, and she is then whisked away to his manor, where we're definitely gonna see the gothic vibes coming in there. Next up, we might have what might be the only young adult book that I've included on this list. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, this is called Not About a Boy by Maya Hollis. I don't read a lot of young adult, but typically I feel like every quarter or so in the year there'll be one that stands out to me. I just really have not picked up too many lately in the past few years, but every once in a while there's one that will stand out to me that I want to read. It's described as Euphoria meets Girl in Pieces, and it's a coming of age story following a girl who's trying to put her grief-stricken past behind her and is startled by the discovery of a long-lost sister who puts into question everything that she thought she knew. Next, we have The God in the Woods, and this is a mystery thriller by Liz Moore. I have a feeling this will be probably one of the bigger summer releases because I feel like I've been seeing it around a lot on Bookstagram. This one takes place in 1975. And during an Adirondack summer camp, a 13-year-old teenager ends up going missing. Apparently her parents are the ones who own the summer camp and who employ most of the region's residents. It sounds like a lot of drama is going to be unfolding as everyone is searching for this missing girl. The Lion Women of Tehran is a book by the author Marjan Kamali, who previously wrote The Stationery Shop, which I really enjoyed, so it made me want to pick up another book. This book sounds like it's going to be a story of friendship, and it takes place in Tehran. We're following two girls. I think at the beginning they start out being 7 years old. One of them, their life's financial situation changes, and that's the result of them becoming friends, or being able to even be in each other's lives. And then I believe one of their financial situation changes again. I'm not sure how far the story follows through, but I think it does follow through for a good chunk of their lives, and it really does sound like at the heart of this story is a story about friendship. The Townsend Family Recipe for Disaster by Shauna Robinson is a fictional book. This author is telling the story following one woman's journey to reconnect with her estranged black family in the South. just as it's on the brink of falling apart. Our main character, May, is part of an estranged family. There is this barbecue that's happening, and she, some way or other, feels like this is the last chance to reunite the family and reconnect everyone again. Daughters of Olympus by Hannah Lynn is a Greek mythology retelling. It's following a daughter pulled between two worlds and a mother who's willing to destroy both to protect her. It's following the story of Demeter and Persephone. We have I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. And I have previously read, I think, one other book by this author. And in this one, this is a classic slasher story with a twist. It takes place in Texas in 1989. This is a slasher horror, but told from the perspective of the killer, basically writing their own autobiography, and that alone really makes me interested to see what the author does with that premise. Only Big Bum Bum Matters Tomorrow by Damilare Kuku, who recently I just read a book called Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad, which was a short story collection by this author. So I'm glad to see that this author is now publishing a full-length novel, and this is their debut novel, and it's about family secrets, judgmental aunties, and Brazilian butt lifts from the author of the book I just previously mentioned, which I did enjoy. With short story collections, you know, they can be hit and miss. Some of the stories you like, some you don't, but overall, I did enjoy the author's writing enough to want to pick up a full-length novel, so I'm going to give this one a go and see if I get on with it or not. Next up, we have Return to Wildcliff Heights by Carol Goodman. This is a mystery thriller. It's described as Jane Eyre meets the 13th Tale and as a new modern gothic mystery. In this book, we're following the story of a reclusive writer who's desperate to rewrite the past. Agnes is a junior editor at a small independent publisher and has been hired to help the enigmatic author Veronica St. Clair to transcribe the sequel to her 1993 hit phenomenon, The Secret of Wildcliff Heights. But St. Clair has been a recluse since the publication and the fire that blinded and scarred her. As Agnes is transcribing the story, there's clues in the story that reveal the true and terrifying events 3 decades ago that inspired the original novel. Next up, we have a short story collection. I think I will like this one. I don't really pick up too many short story collections, even though a lot of them do sound interesting. This one's called The Goodbye Process by Mary Jones. This is a debut short story collection, and it's exploring the topics of like pain and the sometimes surreal ways to say goodbye. We're following a lot of different stories, like a woman who camps out on the porch of an ex-lover who's barricaded himself inside the house, a preteen girl caught shoplifting finds herself in grave danger, a Los Angeles real estate agent falls for a woman who helps him detach from years of dramatic plastic surgery. So yeah, just like it really just sounded like an interesting short story collection. Lastly, for the month of July, we have The Missing Thread, a women's history of the ancient world by Daisy Dunn. This is a nonfiction historical book, and it's giving the story of the ancient world that places women at the center, from Cleopatra to Boudica, Sappho to Fulvia, and countless other writers, artists, leaders, and creators of history. So it looks like there's actually, I miscounted, there's only 12 books that came out in July that I was interested in. So now onto the books in August that are coming out. There's 12 that are coming out in August I want to share with you guys. The first is And So I Roar by Abby Dare. I read a book previously by this author called The Girl with the Louding Voice. I feel like it kind of had some good buzz around it back when that book came out. It was a New York Times bestseller, I believe. When Tia accidentally overhears a whispered conversation between her mom and her aunt, and her mom is terminally ill, the repercussions send her on a quest desperately to uncover a secret her mother has been hiding for nearly 2 decades. We have another mystery thriller. This one's called Eye of the Beholder by Emma Bamford. I think this might be the one that I'm most interested in getting to over the next couple months. This book is inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's classic thriller Vertigo, and we are following a sinister novel about the beauty industry, a ghostwriter, and the reappearance of the lover she thought was dead. Lately, I've really just been on this big kick of like wellness horror / books that in a fictional way explore the topic of beauty, so this definitely was gonna end up on my list. Another mystery thriller that stood out to me was Only the Guilty Survive by Kate Robards. This is a psychological thriller described as good for fans of Riley Sager and Lisa Jewell. And we're following a podcaster who's digging into strange connections between a cult's mass suicide and the murder of a local beauty queen. The Bookshop, A History of the American Bookstore, is a nonfiction book by Evan Friss. This one, as someone who loves books and books about books, was definitely going to end up on my list. This is, as the title describes, a history of the American bookstore and its central place in American cultural life, from department stores to indies, highbrow dealers trading in first editions to sidewalk vendors, from chains to special interest community destinations. The Heir of Venus by Laura Shefferson is another Greek mythology retelling, and this one is reimagining the story of Aeneas, I hope I'm saying that name right, and the women once left at the fringes of his story. Maybe it's Aeneas, I think. Next, we have Born in a House of Glass by Chineye Emezi. Our main character, Udonwa, her family's at war, a war of relationships that's played out under the tyranny of a monster dad. At age 12, she has a peculiar love for her father, who favors her but beats his wife and his other children. She sees his good side. He pays like the school fees and everything, tells her she's the most beautiful child. But when her newly married elder sister suddenly takes her from their family compound in Nigeria to live with her in Aqua, she experiences violence firsthand, and later pieces of a sinister picture emerge that shake her life to the core. We have another Greek myth retelling that's also on this list, and that is called Hera by Jennifer Saint. I previously read, I think, all three of these other books that are mentioned by this author before: Ariadne, Electra, and Atalanta. And this one is her take on the story of Hera. Another Greek mythology retelling that's coming out is called Medusa. This one's by Natalie Grunder. And this is an intimate look into the life of a legendary mythical villain who has so often been stripped of her voice and humanity. And this is this author's debut novel. I think that was the last Greek retelling that's going to be mentioned in this video, but no promises. Next up, we have a book in translation. It's called Silken Gazelles by Jaka Alharfi. The translator is Marilyn Booth. This novel is about two Omani women whose unbreakable connection is forged as nursing sisters, a bond considered akin to that of a birth sibling. They're raised together as sisters and then devastated when one of them has to leave their small mountainside village following a tragic circumstance. Next, we have By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. I hope I said that last name correctly. This is following the story of two women, centuries apart, one of whom is the real author of Shakespeare's plays, and are both forced to hide behind another name to be able to make their voices heard. So this is a historical novel. It takes place in like the late 1500s. So far, I'm seeing a lot of good reviews for it on Goodreads, so I have high hopes for this one. I know this is a more widely known author. I think I've only read one other book by this author, My Sister's Keeper, back in the day. So yeah, I will see how I get on with this one. Next up, this book I'm interested in because as someone who loved scrapbooking when I was younger, that's what really pulled me into being interested in this next one I'm going to share with you guys, which is actually a mystery thriller. It's called Scrap by Colette Henkel, and this is the story of a true crime obsessed young artist who's drawn into the lives of a deliriously wealthy family. We're following a recently dumped and stuck with a mortgage artist who wants to burn the world, but instead she reluctantly accepts a scrapbooking job for the deliriously wealthy Naomi Duncan. And while she's going through her boxes of stuff that she's wanting to be scrapbooked, the girl she's working for dies suspiciously, and then she starts finding like clues in the scrapbooking information. Lastly, for books coming out in August, we have There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. This is a story that takes place over centuries, and it stretches from Mesopotamia to London. This story I really struggle to be able to sum up for you guys in a very short, well put out, thoughtful, concise sentence, because it really does sweep so much time. It takes place in so many different timelines and places. It seems like something that's a thread that's holding all this book together, as the title says. It's about rivers, but it goes from the ancient city of Nineveh, 1840 London and the Thames, 2014 Turkey, 2018 London. So yeah, this is just one of those very epic novels. Last but not least, we have the books that I'm interested in that are coming out in the month of September. I know some books are kind of still being announced, so there's probably going to be more that are coming out in September that I'm interested in. But so far right now, I have these 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 that I want to share with you guys. The first one is called The Night Guest, and this is a book in translation. It's a horror novel by the author Hildur Knutsdotter, and the translator is Mary Robinette Kowal. It's described as an eerie and ensnaring story set in contemporary Reykjavik that's sure to keep you up awake at night. Our main character is in yet another doctor's office, knowing her constant fatigue that something's not right, but all the practitioners are dismissing her symptoms and blood tests haven't revealed any cause. One night she falls asleep and she wakes up to find that she has walked over 40,000 steps in the night. So what's happening when she's asleep? Why is she waking up with increasingly disturbing injuries, and why won't anyone believe her? Next, we have another horror novel, and that one's called Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson. It's described as The Menu meets Ready or Not, and it's a dark tale of opulent luxury and shocking violence. We're following a thrift fashionista who's just basically dating her boyfriend because of his connection. His mom is the editor-in-chief of Nouveau magazine. She ends up getting invited to their family reunion on their big estate, and she is going to try and use this opportunity to get an internship with his mom. But of course, when she gets there, not everything is as it seems. Next, we have Sky Full of Elephants by Sibo Campbell. This is a science fiction book. And in a world without white people, what does it mean to be black? So we're following a cataclysmic event that occurred. All of the people one day who are white in America walk into the nearest body of water. A year later, Charlie Brenton is living an entirely new world, having served time for a wrongful conviction. He's now a professor of electric and solar power systems at Howard University when he receives a call from someone he wasn't even sure existed, his daughter, Sydney, a 19-year-old who was left behind by her white mother and stepfamily. Next, we have another mystery thriller. This one's The Examiner by Janice Hallett. I was interested in this one because of the format it said it's being told in. It's told in emails, text messages, and essays. And it's described as an innovative page turner. It's following a group of students in an art master's program, and it goes dangerously awry. This author also wrote a book called The Appeal, which I feel like I've seen around a lot of places, but I have not read that one. Then we have another horror book, which is kind of weird because I really do not read many horror books. And the ones I do feel like I end up picking up, I end up not liking as much as I hoped I did, but we're just going to keep trying them occasionally. So this one's called The Shadow Key by Susan Stokes Chapman. And this one takes place on an isolated estate in late 18th century rural Wales, and a young English doctor, uncovers dangerous secrets that may threaten his own life in this spellbinding gothic tale. Then we have another book that's coming out by Rumaan Alam. Many people will probably recognize, well, as readers, Leave the World Behind, which was a book that was definitely popular for a while. It got a Netflix adaptation, and now this is the author's follow-up novel. This book is a novel of money and morality. We're following our main character. Her name's Brooke. Her thing that she's looking for is for a purpose in life, and she's helping her with her job, assisting an octogenarian billionaire in his quest to give away a vast fortune, and that can help her achieve many of her goals. This book is looking at the seductive distortions of money, looking at entitlement, and this book is called Entitlement, by the way. I don't think I even mentioned that. But the story is looking at questions about need and worth, race and privilege, philanthropy, generosity, passion, and obsession. I knew whatever Rumaan Alam came out with next I was going to read, so this does sound interesting, and I hope that I really love this one. Then last but not least, for the books that are coming out this summer that are on my radar, we have a book called Gaslight by Miles Joris Payafrit and Sarah Shepard, which I believe Sarah Shepard is the author of the Pretty Little Liars series, so this is a joint novel, it's looking like. Miles Joris Payafrit is a filmmaker and podcast creator, and this is a thriller that dredges the inner workings of cults, the susceptibility of young minds, and the fragility of both marriage and friendship. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the books that are coming out this summer that I'm interested in trying to get to. Let me know if you have any you guys would like me to prioritize. Honestly, probably what's going to be the priority is whatever I could just get as an audiobook easily from my library over the next few months. I hope that you were able to take out at least one or two good book recommendations away with you from this video. Maybe you heard about some books you hadn't heard of before. But that's it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for supporting my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!